So, as a chief of data or a head of IT core insurance, the first phobia which I have seen was in 1999 when I started my development journey. And all it started with Y2K problem. Anyone who understands that Y2K? Or, yeah. So it was about the world is going to end, the computer is going to end, and so many things will happen. And the next phobia which I have seen was pandemic. And after that, the NatCat, earlier it used to happen once, twice, now it's happening 4 times in a year. And further to it, whatever is left out is the war that continue to keep the uncertainties in the economic conditions that we have. So business is grappling with shifts in consumer preferences, economic uncertainties, and supply chain disruptions. So what do we do? Emerging technologies, which holds promise and peril. Digital innovation is the key, and pragmatic transformation is the name of the game. More is being asked from the tech leaders than before. We would like to hear and understand from the panel members how they are empowering their teams, how are they creating those engines for creativity, inspiration, and innovation to navigate through the customer journey. Today, we would be discussing our views on shifting role of tech leaders in insurance to stay ahead of the game. And just to remind, today we are on the 300th day, and we have 65 days to get to 2023. So my first question is to Mr. Pawan Dalmia, who manages, who is an AVP IT Cloud and Technology Infrastructure from Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance. So, sir, technology has become an integral part of insurance business today. How has technology transformed the way insurers are doing business in India? And what are the key drivers behind this transformation? And if you can share some promising use case for our audience, which can help to learn some key insights from you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mahesh. I hope I am audible. To start with, I can say basically in the case, any insurance company who wants to survive had to adopt the technology. In the case, if they do not adopt the technology, they cannot meet the competition. There was the day when you used to fill a 2-page, 3-page, the advisor used to come with the physical form and you used to fill. Those days are gone. Now the entire onboarding happens digitally. There was a day then the policy issuance used to take the time around a month or odd. Now you can get the policy in the less than the 1 day also. The insurance industry, after the banking and the telecom, is the industry which has adopted the technology the most of the time, greatly. And now the most of the processes are the tech-driven. Your underwriting process is completely automated. The people used to basically there was no standardization on the underwriting. Now with the help of the technology, there are a lot of the standardization which has happened into the underwriting. Now when it comes to the pitching the products, the advisor, he never used to see what would be the like of the product. They used to push the product. Now with the help of the technology and especially the data analytics, the advisor can be very much pre-planned based on his demographics, based on his risk appetite, based on his income plan, what would be the right fit for the product. And the insurance industry has grown a lot from a technical perspective. And one of the use cases where we feel we have adopted is basically the scanning and the automation of the underwriting. What used to happen is that the people or the proposed insurer was asked to go for that medical data, medical test. And the underwriter used to go through the reports and come up with their decision, which was never standardized and it was more subjective to the person. Now there is a technology, leveraging the technology, we have digitized or digitalized all the medical records. And using the AI engine, the AI platform itself throws the decision whether the policy can be issued or not, whether there needs to be the premium overloading, what is the risk for the insurance company in the case if we take up this case. So tech is the way, and the tech has already transformed the insurance industry. And there are the many other areas the insurance players needs to work, especially on the claims front, to make the life of the people easy. And I think so that is the way forward for the insurance industry.
Thanks. This brought a very valid point on how are we streamlining the operations and not only that, the customer experience that we are giving. I recollect the instant gratification post-COVID era where everything wants to be done in 30 minutes, 1 hour or something of that stuff, and which has given a lot of innovations which we can see now. A claim getting settled in half an hour, in 1 hour. Direct settlement happens, some health claims happens, the crop farmer claim settlement happens. And all of this I could resonate with what Pavanji was talking about. So my next question in similar line is to Mr. Aditya Kulkarni, who is DVP in Star Union Daichai Life Insurance and who drives technology through Data Lens. So what are the latest trends in data analytics and how can they be used to better understand customers to gain real insights into the customer use case journey? And how do you create personalization offerings to them? How much could technology continue in reducing the overall timelines? And what would be the use case that you or your company is having on the same?
I think that's a very loaded question that you have asked, but thank you for that question. What we usually try to do when we try to bring in technology as an aspect for not only creating value for the customer, but also bringing profits and avoiding risks that the insurance industry presently focuses on. And these typically are the three major aspects that we also work on. And when we talk about enabler, technology as an enabler, obviously being from a data and analytics background, I will talk more on the aspects how data and analytics is helping the insurance industry at this point in time. So as I mentioned, there are three major aspects through which we try to drive it at our organization. One is the aspect wherein how can we bring in more profit for the organization? Second is the aspect wherein we try to keep our customer as a centerpiece and create customer-centric, efficient approaches and a differentiator for the customer through technology. And third aspect, as we talked about, is the risk that usually comes when we talk about insurance. Because we know we are in India wherein though the penetration of insurance is very less, at the same time there are frauds also happening in the insurance industry, so to speak. Now, how do we actually try to evade this or try to make most out of the present state, and how do we reach the next state that we talk about? It is majorly about having data being brought together in a one single repository, which was a thought which we used to have in our earlier times. And now, with the decentralization of data and the explosion that we see in terms of how that data can get captured into various systems, I think a data modernization approach has anyways been taken into consideration for across all organizations. These data modernization approaches talk about structured and unstructured data in a very loosely yet tightly coupled way, because we talk about ETLs, ELTs, and try to bring in all the data in one place. Now, with this data, it also has to make a lot of sense for all of us. And if I have to talk about analytics playing that role for everyone in this space, it is more of a hyper-personalized way in which the customer should also be treated. We have ample amount of data. What we also try to do is create those through various new approaches and innovative thoughts. At Star Union Daiichi, while we understand when we talk about life insurance, it is more of ensemble data that we try to get about a customer, which is more of a physical aspect of physical health of that customer, financial health of that customer. We specifically are also at SUD Life trying to bring in the aspect, and which we have been doing, is create a triage between physical wellness, financial wellness, and mental wellness as well. And that is how we try to create segmentation of our customer in the most possible and a granular way. This is being driven by AI at its core. And when we talk about AI, it is not only statistical models that play those aspects of bringing all of this together, but also very simplified logical processes of how these customers also interact with us through various touch points within the organization and outside the organization as well. This is how we try to marry all of those aspects.
So what is the use case that you work upon for the analytics per se, whether it is AI, ML, or any of the data modernization platform that you were talking about. So if you would like to share any of these use cases with the audience.
Sure. So as I mentioned, the use cases that we try to do is at every customer touch point, and we have a model to identify and appreciate what the customer is doing at this point in time. Now, if I talk about the entire customer journey, there will be a model which tries to understand whether at an NB stage or an underwriting stage or an issuance stage or a renewal stage, how is the customer trying to behave with us and predict what would be his next set of ways in which he will be interacting with us. There is a tad bit of difference wherein we also try to look at, and we are trying to create headways onto that. Because when we try to understand customer, it has to be understood with a more human-like aspect. This human-like aspect is trying to be created through AI. And we also are trying to create it to a level wherein a behavioral aspect of the customer is known to us. Now, when we talk about this behavioral aspect, there is a lot of cognitive tech that runs behind it. And it also has to be backed by a business-led, data-driven engineering that happens in the backend, which tries to create this aspect for us. There is an app that we have in our ecosystem, which is being created to also help people to understand their the financial health and the mental abilities, mental thoughts as well. And we try to understand the customer better with these aspects in place. One good thing that I also feel, and the innovations that are happening across, is specifically, and people will also be talking about and talked about ChatGPT or the LLM models in specific. These are the ones, I think these are the differentiators that will be disruptive in the industry at this point in time. Every touch point needs such LLM models in the very first place, because this creates a better customer experience. And that becomes a differentiator for any organization of scale that is presently working, because the customer base is huge right now.
Correct. So that leads to understanding of how the personalization happens, how the offerings to the customer happens in a way which can be very unique to that customer. So when I talk about our company, what we do, basically first of all, I always have a tendency, life insurance is something 5-day test match versus a general insurance, which is a one-day match, where the renewals happens every financial year. And you have to be on your toes to ensure that the customer renew with us. Unlike life, where you know for the next 15, 20 years, he is going to stay with you. So for general insurance, it becomes much more critical in terms of analyzing the bureau's data, in analyzing the social media, the chat window the customer lives with, on the digital footprints, wherever the customers have shared their views. How do we take that in our CRM Next system and then come out with a personalization offering during the renewals, either to get them on the same level, offer them the next level, or see what best can we do for the people who had a bad experience on the claims side or who have not met with any claims experience. So how do we create those personalization is one of the very balancing nudges that we have to be on with our intermediaries, with our sales team, with our underwriters, with our actuaries, and the entire team has to work in that order. So how do we work towards getting it? I believe data, analytics, and the various use of AI and ML, which is happening around, is helping the companies to reach to that level. So my next question is with Mr. Rupesh Mehta, who is an SVP and a technology leader from Tata AIA Life Insurance. So Rupesh, I would like to understand, what are the key trends shaping the future of insurance industry in India, and how can insurer prepare for a rapidly changing landscape? Any promising use cases that you would like to share with the audience?
Thanks. Okay, before I share my view, and I'll be a little louder because I can see, the room is full of around 50, 60 people post-lunch. And before I share my view around the insurance industry, let me just take something on the lighter note. that the why only insurance industry, even the conferences, how they are being handled, I'm sure that also may be changing. So for example, currently if you're talking, if that becomes little bit of, AI-driven algorithm, then I'm sure the audience will obviously not react to that. So let's make it little bit of spontaneous, right? Just moving on with the same idea, insurance industry, all of us are aware. I mean, I don't need to tell the people are there who are maybe the partners ecosystem who are coming from the BFSI sector. One of the key things that, I have observed over a period. So you talked about the difference between general and life, and I'm fortunate to work on both sides. Definitely the way in which we operate, so the change comes from the point is the business models, right? And the demand and supply rule. So earlier the demand for this entire thing was for the generation which was at above particular level, right? So our target audience used to be the people who used to be age-old or senior people. Versus today, when we talk about the generation, the Gen Z is the target audience for insurance. Just one thing that remains common, which is, which used to be in earlier days and still it is, which is insurance still remains to be a push product, right? Unfortunately, people are making various attempts and, we continue to do that to make it of a pull product, right? And that's the change that I am observing across the insurance industry by making insurance as a bundled product, right? So it's not something for an insurance purpose, a visitor will come to your location and then say, okay, I want to buy an insurance. That is still is a phenomena which is getting driven through digital nudges, but still there is a long way to go there. So how does it work? So business models are changing. Based on the business model, the technologies which are there, those are changing. How those are changing? So for example, as I mentioned, customer 360-degree persona. So for example, the social media coverage, the nudges that we may get it from there. So let's say there's a family, there is somebody getting married. Based on that, what will be the need for that person? That is something which is coming up as an overall ecosystem. And this is what is a big change. Talking about this as a generic pointer versus specific use cases and the examples of that. So I represent Tata AIA. Tata AIA is a life insurance company, as you mentioned. It's a test match, right? Versus the so-called one day and T20. Yeah. But just on a lighter note, now the challenge lies is how do we make or how do we play in test match at the rate of T20, right? And that's the challenge that we have as a technology leader, as a business leaders. So the point comes up is life insurance, the general interaction comes only at the time of renewal. The product construct were also like that. Now that is changing. What is changing? So for example, if I take Tata AI as an example, we have launched product which is more inclined towards health related benefit. So we tied up with Vitality. Now this is a very good company wherein, that brings the age-old understanding about the user profiling, the number of steps that you take, and based on that, we do provide that customer benefit around the premium. Now again, a use case which is, being used across multiple things. How do we make a difference in this kind of a use case? Is basically not only customer gets benefited on the premium, but also cross company's product offering. So for example, Tata 1MG. Now we have Tata 1MG as our partner. So I do offer my customer, when the customer onboarding happens, the health checkups, the records, that is something which we take it. And based on that, obviously, so-called privacy remains on the top of the paramount. But with the customer consent, we do provide those customized product offering to the customer. So answering your question, is there a change happening across the insurance industry? Obviously, we all are aware that yes. At the pace what it should be changing, maybe no. Because as a customer, we all must have felt a pain at any given point of time. That still today, if you really want to buy an insurance, you need to go through many steps. I mean, every company, when I'm sitting in the panel, all our companies are trying their best to solve those steps. But there are certain regulatory requirements, there are certain obligatory pointers which we can't do away with, and that still remains on board. The day will be very soon, in the near future, the day will be there wherein a college-going guy who is just playing a game on his mobile will be just with one click will be buying an insurance which will be a bundle product along with something else on the Amazon. And that's the future of insurance industry which probably I foresee. Yeah.
So thanks, Rupesh. This brought me to a very important point which our regulator is running through. So as per the regulator, the IRDA chairman, his vision is to have insurance for all by 2047. And when we say insurance for all by 2047, with the current penetration of 4.2 and less than 2%, how are we going to do that? So now government has been taken a very bold steps, and the bold steps are in 3 Bs. What are these 3 Bs for Bharat? One is Bima Vistar, Bima Vahak, and Bima Sugam. What are these platforms which government is coming out with? Bima Sugam, an online digital platform for every insurance company, for all intermediaries, for all my customers. They need not have to go anywhere else, just one platform, and that's where things would be. Bima Vahak, the last mile which has been left out. How do we reach to that last mile? To the Gram Panchayat level is where the steps has been taken, and I am a part of that project where I can see the demo, the POC being coming out with the InsurTech working with the regulators and the GIC councils. And Bima Vistar, as Rupesh mentioned, there is a predefined cover for life, for general, for health, for motor. And basis on that, you have to just click on a tick mark. You want a 1 lakh policy, 2 lakh policy, 5 lakh policy, and the premium remains as per the age bracket and the other thing. To make it simplify, how many of us in this room purchase a mobile? कि हाँ, आज हमने सोचा मेरे को आज नया mobile खरीदना. That's the excitement that we have. We think about purchasing a purse, or purchasing a bag, purchasing a laptop. But how many of us think that I want to buy an insurance policy? It's always, as he mentioned, it's a push product. Why it has to be a push product? It gives so much of benefit to the people. Though the experience comes at a very bad stage where some accident happens across. But is that where we want to be? And knowing that with the pandemic situation where we had been, the variables which has come up.
Just to add to your point, Mahesh, today if a customer goes to purchase a mobile, I mean, we all know that, jaake mobile kharidna hai, it might take few minutes. But when it comes to data transfer, when it comes to the entire thing, by the time you walk out that mobile shop, it takes good amount of, 1.5 hour. Versus policy issuance, today it's a straight through process, So if we look at that ease is something which we have already done on the insurance side. But still that nudge, that need is getting created. So yeah, totally agree with your point.
So with motor, just entering your vehicle registration number fetches all the information which is required through Vahan, through IIB gateway that has been opened up with the insurance company. And with that two touch, I can identify what are the previous policies that you have taken, what is the claim history that you have, and accordingly we can issue the policy. So as mentioned by Rupesh, with 2 clicks or 3 clicks, how can we make the journey, the customer, and give an experience which they want through? So, and have a frictionless claims as well. So that's where all the insurance companies that we were just having in the icebreaker discussion about how are we going to give a frictionless claims service to our customer. So this gives me to the next question to Mr. Shanti Narayan Swami, who heads IT application in Manipal Cigna Health Insurance Company. What steps can insurers take to educate customers, create awareness about the benefit and the risk of digital insurance offerings, and improve the adoption and penetration rates? Over to you.
So thanks, Mahesh, for that question. And I think all my colleagues spoke about, how going digital has really improved, maybe uptake of insurance. And this is the most important question, I believe, and a difficult one too, considering that, while COVID pushed all of us to an era, right, where, having digital processes and operations is no longer like, a nice to have factor, but it's a need of the day, right? Having said that, is the customer adoption rate really up to the mark? the answer is maybe between a yes and a no. It's neither a yes, neither a no, right? It again depends on your customers who are willing to pick up the digital mode, and there are still a certain set of customers who still want to, go the manual route, right? And hence, it is still uphill task for the insurance companies, okay, who have actually invested a lot of significant lot of amount, I would say, capital expenditure over a period of last 3 or 4 years, okay, in building all these digital infrastructures, that is required. So what can one really, do? I think it's very important not to aim for 100%, okay? If you really aim that, I want to be a 100% digital company, if you're targeting that set of customers, then maybe, you are in the right direction, correct? But if you are, you are an insurance company targeting all customer segments, then I think it's very important to base your customers and then drive digital adoption. I think it's a very important aspect, I think, which we at Manipal Cigna are, doing that. So probably identify those set of customers who are visiting your websites, okay, or falling off your journeys, right? Who actually show off that inclination when they come to your branches or they speak to your call center executives, right? So identify those set of customers and target or pitch, your digital assets, whether it's your customer app, whether it's your digital journey, accordingly, or even renewal for that matter. As of today, is we offer one-click renewals for that matter, right? So that's a very important aspect. Secondly, I believe that there are many digital adoption platforms these days available, right, which actually gives you, they give you decent training modules for your various digital journeys, right? And they cut across your applications and your peripheral applications, and they cut across your digital journeys too. They offer you frequently asked questions, so they support you with all that. Depending on, your customer segments, I think one can actually look out for them. That's one. Second, customers these days, there are multiple mediums of, by which you can actually train a customer. We're speaking about customer education, right? The taste of customers, depending on where they reside, depending on their demographic information, or the taste actually varies, right? Some customers would actually prefer, getting a PDF document, okay? Some customers will actually like, getting a full-fledged training document. Some will actually prefer a jazzy presentation, right? Now, there is no hard and fast answer saying what is right and what is wrong, right? It's good for a company to invest across and, pitch in right at the right time and at the right situation. I think that is where, the analytics and some of the customer behavior data will have to be studied. And I think my friend Aditya did speak about, collecting customer data and behavioral information. I think one will have to actually put in all this information and actually look at and identifying, what needs to be pitched in where. Lastly, when you're trying to do all this, I think it's also important not to go overboard, right? So pitch digital adoption where a customer is really interested. At times, you continuously keep on getting calls saying that, just use this link, right? And a customer is actually not interested. So it's important to strike a balance between where it is required and actually where it is not required. So important for, any organization to study that and have their strategy built across. The other important thing, I believe, even today in insurance in India, I think that human touch is still very important, right? And people still feel comfortable speaking to a agent, then actually going onto the website and, purchasing. I mean, there are a set of customers who believe that. Not everyone is of that fashion. I believe your chatbots can actually play a huge role there. In fact, in our organization, when we were about to launch the chatbot, we actually had a boardroom discussion saying, what should be the name of the chatbot? Because most of the chatbots, if you see, they have English names, right? Maybe an Alexa or an Alexa. We actually had a discussion saying, why can't it be a Bajrangbali, a Ram, or a Krishna, right? So, that actually gives an Indian touch to it because our Indian customers, like that, right? So it's important to strategize accordingly. Next, I also think that, when you're constructing your digital journeys, your mobile applications, fancy technologies are good, right? But one really needs to introspect, what is really that the customer wants, right? Your journeys have to be simple, they have to be easy, right? It should be easy for the customer to navigate, right? I think this is a bare minimum requirement for any digital adoption, to succeed in any industry for that matter, correct? Forms have to be simple, they have to be easy to use. In fact, forward navigation and backward navigation should be simple. These are some of the key things which actually a technologist who is a key enthu in, getting fancy things done will actually miss out on doing some certain simple things, which I believe, is a key important factor for, digital adoption rates to increase in any of the organization for that matter. And I think with respect to penetration, I believe the regulator is also doing quite a lot to increase penetration via the digital medium. I think Maheshji just touched upon Bima Sugam, Vistar and Vahak. I think all put together, this should improve. And when we speak about customers, it is internal as well as external customers. So while external customers, we focus on various initiatives to improve, it's also important, equally important for us to train our internal employees, okay, so that they can drive the digital adoption rates with the external customers. So yes, that's my thoughts.
So well, Shanti, you have covered a lot of aspects from digital adoption to creating that awareness, education, and the various medium through which various insurance companies are reaching out to the customers, to intermediaries, and to the people around. She also spoke about giving a Indian name, which could be definitely eye-opening for many, because if you see, Hanuman ji यहाँ से ये chat बता रहे हैं. So definitely it will be people who would love to come to the site. But the only challenge is, how do we get people to come on the site? So that's where is still many of us are working around. And I believe with the 3 Bs which I spoke about, reaching to the last mile will definitely help. And getting a lot of women in the Bima Wahak. So that's where again the IRDA is working upon. So how do we get, as a part of a Gram Panchayat, a woman-centric distribution channel? Because every woman at home can do that activity for their families, for that Gram Panchayat. So I believe the vision of 2047, which we carry as, and we support the IRDA, is to get the insurance for all. So all very valid points which Shanti has put up. The AI, ML, all things will come up. But it's the end customer who has to come to the site, or we have to reach out to those customers. And the journey has begun. It's about just few years to go, and we would be saying all insurers are insured the way we can see in a developed country. So my next question, we are talking a lot about digital adoption, AI, ML, and various areas of getting to the last mile. And that's where the cybersecurity comes into play. So my next question is with Mr. Sagar from Checkpoint Software Technology, who is an enterprise architect. From a cyber perspective, increasing component in the IT ecosystem, whether it is cloud, IoT, data, which is leading to an increase in the attack surface. How do you solve this continually, which is evolving threat for the BFSI industry? How security is in line with the digital transformation that we are all in? So over to you, Sagar, to share your view on the same.
Thank you so much, Mahesh, for the question. I hope I'm fairly audible. Okay. So yes, we have been hearing a lot around digital transformation. And in the last few years, what we identify in order to keep things very simple, digital transformation, like what we see from the perspective of being a security organization, is organizations are tending to move and adopt more and more of new age technologies. To give a very simple example, many organizations today have started leveraging heavily on cloud aspect. We also just discussed and mentioned around making use of AI and ML models by collaborating with third-party or insurtech organization in order to provide different services bundles to the organization. So how we see different trends which are occurring in this aspect is, previously, back then, all the data security components used to be resided in a confined space. Now data is being circulated everywhere. Organizations today are moving to the cloud, and not just to one specific cloud, but to different varieties of flavors which are available. Now this starts right from the basics, which is lifting and shifting your applications which are there hosted in your data center all the way to the cloud. Like Mahesh just mentioned, right? We are making use of new age technologies like microservices. It's a complete different environment in which the legacy monolithic application work as compared to how microservices functions. In past, we also see certain breaches, certain names which I wouldn't like to, which happened just because of misconfigurations or some of the tokens which have been available right in the code itself. So one of the important key aspect which many of the customers comes out to us is how we can have a platform-based approach which starts all the way from having the code being developed for that application to the cloud, or even if you want to go beyond. So certain aspects like scanning the entire code, scanning your entire infrastructure as a service, having the communications between maybe your data center, between your cloud, between your branches, and even today, like Shanti ma'am also mentioned, on mobile applications. Consumers today, the Gen Z, wants everything on mobile phones. So we are coming up with new innovative solution in terms of how you secure those phones, which is in direct access to the third parties which you're collaborating with, and also back into your data centers. So solutions around mobile security is also playing an important role. Now, how do we cater to mobile, which the organization has no control on? So the discussion and the development, just to share some insights of what is happening around us, is we also see certain organization who has already participated in having our SDKs being embedded in your mobile applications. Irrelevant whether it is an iOS, whether it is an Android, if it is jailbroken, if they are using some malicious applications on the phone, it is all being detected without having the need of having a third-party software on top of it. So having the security layer in a multi-layered approach, right, from your mobile applications to cloud, to branches, everywhere, that needs to have a security topping on top of it. Lastly, few of the key touch points which I'd like to share across is, some of the key aspect which we hear across is collaboration with third parties. Now, collaboration with third parties, the application needs to be in such a convenient way that it is open to APIs and is being consuming with other third-party vendors. Like we just mentioned, right? Collaborating within the organization itself, like general insurance is collaborating with life insurance, how these applications can talk to each other. Now, API plays a very important role there. And again, when we are talking API is not just a means of communication today. It is where the data is moving. So going forward, we see a lot of development which is happening in the data security posture management phase after the new law which is being just rolled out by the government of India around data protection bill, right? So that's where the focus is going around. Gone are the days where the focus was more on where the workloads are moving, how the flow is being happening between different premises. Today we are talking about how this data, which is residing today maybe in the hand or in the palm in a mobile application, is traversing all the way to third parties, to organizations, and being linked to different vendors, right? How this data is being secured or traveled in a secured manner. That's where we see the industry is going. So some of the key trends which I wanted to share. Over
Thanks,
to
Sagar, for the insight. If I have to summarize what Sagar is mentioning, to solve this continually, we need to have a zero trust, whether it is coming through data in rest, data in motion, or through any API calls that happens through. Second, he mentioned about security by design, which needs to be inbuilt when we are talking about any non-compliance. So security has to be a part of a design perspective and not when the attack happens. And defense in depth. So what is the defense if an attack happens? What are the areas how we can come back to the same? So that's where he touched a lot about the security area. So coming to the end of the session, I would like to ask one question to all the panel members, if they can just share your couple of lines on the same. Since we have the entire partner ecosystem out here, I would like to understand the collaboration and partnership in the insurance industry, whether insurtech, whether startups, whether aggregators. How can insurer work together with many stakeholders, such as technology companies and regulators, to drive innovation and growth in the industry? So, Rupesh, why don't we go in the chain?
Sure. So I'll be a little mindful around the time. Quickly, a message that I may give is, collaboration works both ways, right? So when there is a benefit on the both side, obviously that works well. So one of the important aspect that I foresee over here is that insurtech partners specifically, which is probably the room is filled up with, and a regulator, and the entities like us, right? These are the three main characters in this entire collaboration. One of the most important thing that I foresee is whenever there is a solution that is getting pitched to me, let's say, and the deciding factor that will drive through the decision making is if the partner is coming with the use case and with the business benefit mapped with the technology solution, that makes much more easy for us as a decision maker to proceed with those kind of solution versus the solution which are just getting pitched on the technology side, and then rest of the mapping, correlation, everything is supposed to be done by us. That makes the life little difficult and adoption little difficult. So my one message which can be straight and which can be very clear is, if the partner ecosystem, if the entities and the regulator can work together towards making the solutions which are use case driven, which are business benefit oriented, you can see the pickup of those things being very quick and very easy. That's the point.
Thanks,
Yep.
thanks, Rupesh. If Shanti, you can add.
Yeah, so I had core applications, and when we speak about core applications, it's typically, legacy applications most of the times. Unfortunately, it is still the order of the day. So I would prefer, many of the regulatory requirements, they run across insurance organizations, right? And every insurer is actually spending, amounts leading to those customizations. So I would actually, urge the insurance companies and maybe the insurtech companies, if they can work together to build up something common which can be used across, right? So that, the cost bearing is also shared, right? I think we are yet to make, good progress in this area. So I believe some work towards this area should be helpful.
Thanks a lot, Pawanji.
I think that a lot of the insurer tech has a more important role to play, the way the insurance industry can transform. One of the key areas is basically the ABHA ID, which is coming in. So in the case, if the new age, the insurance tech, the regulators and the insurance company work on that, the one area where still the insurance company lies where the medical tests are required. This take a longer time. And in the case with the ABHA ID coming in and the insurance company can leverage on it, I feel that the policies or the cases where the medical records are also required could also be issued within this span of the one day.
So just to add, since he brought up ABHA ID, I hope everyone knows about the Ayushman Bharat digital mission. And as we sit today, there is still a meeting going on in New Delhi with all the insurance company and the National Health Authority. And the first phase of getting the ABHA ID created has been launched by almost all insurance company. It's a non-mandatory field, but going forward, that will become mandatory. We have so far more than 38 crores ABHA ID created in the rural areas who can avail the benefit of hospitalization. So that's where the intervention from the government and national authority, which is going through the digital mission happening around. There are more than 200 hospitals who have been enrolled for this ABHA, and the exchange between the consent will happen. And that's where the meeting is happening right now from the past 3 days. And all the insurance companies are there in Delhi office to try and break the ice how this will work across. And very soon, this would be the reality. And this is how we would be able to reach the milestone. So good point that you have brought. I had some number. I am a data man, so I'll always have something in my mind. So I'll just throw something here and there. So yeah, yeah. Please, Aditya.
I think when we are talking about this ecosystem, I think it is a triage, and Rupesh rightly mentioned so, that it is a triage between the insurer, the customer whom we are serving, and our partners who are helping us actually go to the customers in the way in which the customer wants us as an insurance company, and what we also want to give back to the customer. Now, when we talk about these triaging principles, obviously when we are trying to look at the changing needs of customers and changing landscape of technologies, it is very essential that all of these things match equally for everyone. When we talk about these partners who are helping us right now, obviously it is very much essential from a GTM perspective, go-to-market perspective. A faster go-to-market is always there through the partnerships that we have with our ecosystems that we try to create. And as Shanti was also mentioning, and a right point that was brought up, we are in that phygital space right now because India has a push from an insurance standpoint and how we want to reach to the customers. Because when we talk about when we talk about banca as a distribution channel, there will be a possibility wherein bank branches will be utilized and our feet on street, the sales teams, would be the ones who will be enabling us with that phygital mode, wherein we have to make them enabled with a device, with an app, or with a process which helps them to key in those data points. These data points are the ones which go back to the HO. And obviously there is a lot of ML engines and product recommendation engines, fraud analytics, customer segmentation which runs on this. With all of these things going for helping you in bringing out that literacy for customer, because we know that financial literacy and insurance literacy in India is something which is a question mark for us, and that is the reason why the penetrations are that low. I think that we should be also targeting.
Yeah, I completely agree with the phygital activity that needs to happen, and that's where the 3 Bs which are coming into picture, as well as the adoption that you talked about, and the cohort, which is very crucial and being followed in most of the insurance companies to ensure and learn the customer behavior and the patterns. Any last point from Sagar? Because I see it's time's up.
Yes. So in the interest of time, I'll keep it very short. Okay. So the one trend which we see is definitely InsurTech organization would be adding a lot of values, opening up new channels for the insurance organization. The only important aspect which we hear from our customers is how is the integration being managed by these new InsurTech organization which are using the latest applications, latest technologies available as compared to the legacy systems which are running in the backend. Right? So some care to be taken there, and that's the last piece of thought.
Thanks, Sagar. इनका हाल उसके जैसा इंडियन मूवी अपना बॉलीवुड मूवी जब सिक्योरिटी और पुलिस की बात आती है लास्ट में आते हैं. So it's on a lighter side. So it's time's up, but we are open with one question, I believe. Madam, we can take one question or yeah. If anyone has any questions for the panel members, we can take that up. Anyone? या तो हम सो रहे थे, या तो हम कुछ बोल रहे थे, या तो कुछ हो रहा था, but just on a lighter side. If anyone has any questions, then do let us know. So I believe there is no question. So yeah, over to you, madam.
Can we have a big round of applause for all the panelists for an insightful session? Thank you so much.